Let's talk about perfectionism and how it can suck the joy out of life. I am Kelly and I am your host for Redefining Moments, the podcast designed to help meet you wherever you are at in your personal development journey. And yeah, I hope I am meeting you in a wonderful and joyous space right now. So let's talk about perfectionism. I am someone who I think I was in denial for quite a long time about my perfectionist nature. I think very deeply, and I think because of that, I'm actually thinking a lot about how I can make a situation perfect or how I can make something better. And it's been quite a beautiful part of my own healing journey because I've been working with someone around something called the winning strategy. I think, can't remember the name of the book right now. It's gone out of my head. But someone I work closely with went on a course in the past, and they discovered a lot about themselves through this process. And what they've done is they've helped teach me about my own winning strategy, and at the center is perfectionism. I've become very aware of those traits within myself, and recently I have not been recording. What you wouldn't know is I've probably just recorded 4 episodes in the last 12 hours, and this is my 5th, and I feel on fire. I feel alive. I feel like I'm sharing my most authentic parts of myself. But perfectionism has been stopping me from putting myself out there. It's made me doubt and question what I'm sharing. Is there any point of it? What's the point of what I'm sharing? There's no clear direction, and am I just talking randomly at a screen? So I've been doubting myself, and I think there's other episodes where I've touched upon this. I seem to go in and out of phases of it. But recently it started because I applied to do a TED Talk. And I'm really excited just by applying. I'm so excited by the opportunity and putting myself out there. It feels amazing. It's something that I didn't ever think was possible. And now it's more possible, and it's closer to being more possible, and it's so exciting. But the reason I wanted to do a TED Talk were many reasons. I want to be able to share just these parts of myself with people and hopefully help them find their own growth, trust and understanding within themselves, and find that compassion, that kindness and that love that we all deserve just because we're human beings. But one of the reasons as well is I realised I struggle to commit to an idea. I'm very flowy, very things come up, I fix on an idea and then I move on. And there's a beautiful quality that offers me. There's something really amazing about not really holding on to something and just letting it evolve and expand and grow. But when it comes to me trying to start up a coaching business or trying to put myself out there into the world, perfectionism can become a bit like a python. And it's tightening itself around me, and I feel like I'm suffocating. I feel like I'm trapped by my own pressure, and I don't know how to get out of it. So working on my winning strategy over the last couple of years has allowed me to recognise it a lot more, to recognise the traits of perfectionism, which is often closely connected to my overthinking, because I'm trying to be perfect. So I'm trying to think of every single possible scenario to be able to face any eventuality. But when it came to my podcast recently, because I'm working on my TED Talk concept, I'm writing it out, I'm thinking about the idea and how to simplify it. It kind of created an idea of who I should be within my podcast. Because who I was being about my podcast before, and as you might be aware of if you've been following along, is I just publish what I've recorded. I barely edit it. I take away the breath at the beginning, the breath at the end, and most of the time the podcast is completely unedited. It's just me free flowing and talking and saying the things that just come to mind as they come to mind, which you might notice. So it's a very different concept to a TED Talk. It's me going in with an idea, but allowing the idea to evolve and expand through a conversation with myself, and with the intention of it being a conversation I have with you. But because of the TED Talk, I have to have a very specific idea, a very clean idea, something where I'm like, this is me getting to a clean point so the audience walk away knowing what I've just discussed. Whereas the point of my podcast, I guess, is to share, and you take the information from it. You take what you want from it. Like, it's like a story that you're following along, and you're going to have your own take and narrative on it. Whereas the TED Talk needs to be much cleaner, much more precise. I want people to get away from it with a really clear idea in mind, a seed planted. So because of that, I've been crossing over the idea of what a TED Talk is to me and what a podcast is to me. And I've started to doubt myself and gone, oh God, I'm not doing my podcast right. I'm not being clean enough. I'm not being precise enough. I'm not going in with a clean narrative. And I realized because of that, like, I don't know, I realized it's not me. Like, the TED Talk, I feel, is going to be me. It's going to be an expression of me if I get it right, and also if I get it to begin with. But when it comes to my podcast, like, I don't want to be scripted. I think the thing that makes this genuine and authentic and something worth listening to is the fact that I'm not scripted. I'm sharing my inner monologue with you as it's fresh, as it's being experienced. And with that, there's a rawness and emotions and vulnerability and passion and joy that I feel gets expressed through not being scripted, not being restricted in what I'm saying. And in some cases, I probably go, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. But the more I open up and the more vulnerable I am, the more it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just sharing myself with you, and you can take it or leave it. But yeah, it made me realize that because of this concept of a podcast and TED Talk, my perfectionist guard went up. And when I'm in that space, I overthink everything. I don't feel like I'm good enough. There's such a high bar to achieve that it sucks the joy out of the moment. It sucks the joy away from the very thing that I love, which is just sharing myself with the world. And now I'm back doing it. Now I'm back recording. I'm like, yeah, what was I talking about? What was I talking about? Because at the end of the day, they're two very different things. And I do think there's a power in that. There's a power in recognizing that just because you have to be one thing in one part of your life doesn't mean that it has to bleed into every other part of your life. Like, just because I've decided to do a TED Talk, just because I am approaching it from a very specific and clean perspective, and I'm learning new skills as a result of that, does not mean it has to influence my podcast in a negative way. It has encouraged me to adapt certain ways I open my podcast. If you've noticed, I've started doing like kind of talking about the topic a tiny bit at the beginning before introducing myself, and I've really enjoyed doing that. Like, that's been a really nice addition to being like, yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about today. Like, I'm almost pumping myself up to talk about it, and yeah, that's been really, really nice to take information from it. But when I'm in this perfectionist state, I stop myself from actually living. I feel like I'm holding my breath continuously, going, oh my God, there's a standard that I have to live up to that I'm not able to. And actually, I am able to once I relax, once I stop forcing. Because the thing I realize is perfectionism is a trait of control. It's a quality where I am trying to control how life turns out, and I am putting every single bit of my forcing into trying to control life to go how it should. And you just can't. The truth is, you can't. You can only control who you're being and how you show up. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. I'm controlling who I'm being and how I show up. And I can't control the outcome of that. I can't control whether these episodes will be successful. I can't control whether I will upset people through what I say or whether I will change people's lives through what I say. I can't control that. But what I can control is my truth, sharing my authenticity with the world and seeing how the world responds to it. But it goes back to a lot of what I was saying in the labels episode as well. Like, there is a point that the more you do things like this, the more you trust yourself and you're going, well, actually, yes, I'm sharing my opinion and people are going to give their opinions back, but it doesn't impact my worth. It doesn't tell me that I am not worthy. Their opinion is their opinion. My opinion is my opinion. And this whole episode, like every single episode I've done, is based on an opinion, not fact. It's just something that I've observed in the world and I'm sharing through my inner experience. And it's not a fact. So perfectionism can be restrictive. Perfectionism can suck the joy out of life. But try to remember why you enjoy something to begin with. Try to remember what pulled you in that direction to begin with. And what I would ask as well, if perfectionism is at play, if it's ruling your life, I would ask yourself what the belief is underneath that surface. Like, what belief is ruling this moment? Because when perfectionism is involved, there's usually something under the surface. There's usually a belief under the surface, which is going, you're not good enough or you're not worthy. It's an imposter syndrome. It's a feeling of like, I'm having to live up to an expectation that I do not feel capable of meeting, or there's a demand or a pressure where you're like, oh my God, I need to be good enough because of X. But what is X? What is it that you are trying to achieve? And what is the fear under the surface you are trying to avoid? Because there's a reason that perfectionism is being fired up. Imagine perfectionism is a alarm bell. It's an alarm system your body has in place when you are in perfectionist mode. Because I feel there's a difference between working towards excellence, working towards and striving towards being the best you possibly can. There's an energy you put into that, which is like, I'm just trying. I'm just putting myself out there. I'm giving my energy and love into something just because I can. So I sometimes struggle at differentiating between the two because they do look similar. When I'm striving for excellence, it's because I just generally am so passionate about something. I don't care about the outcome. I'm just like, yeah, let's put my all into this. Let's put my love into this. Let's see where it can take me. When I'm in perfectionist mode, I'm looking at an outcome. I'm looking at something needs to go right for me to feel good about myself, or to feel worthy, or to feel capable. And that often is closely connected to validation. It's connected to me needing an external validation as a result of the work I've put in. When I'm in a perfectionist mode, I am coming from a place of, I need to be good enough so I get the response that tells me I'm good enough, so I feel worthy. When I'm coming from a working towards excellence mode, I'm coming from a place of I am putting myself out there. I love what I'm doing and I feel good and worthy because I'm doing it, because I'm excited and passionate and energized. So the difference between the two is you are either internally motivated or externally motivated. So I'm needing to get feedback to tell me of my worth rather than I already know my worth and I'm just doing this because I love it. And I am still probably and almost likely to fall back into the perfectionism trap. It is such an uncomfortable feeling in myself nowadays. I feel so anxious, overwhelmed, wound up when I'm in that state. I feel like I have to force the world to be right. But often that's just because there's something in the world that's making me go, hold on a second. Life isn't going how I think it should. And I need to work really hard to make it go how I think it should, because if I force it, then it will go how it should. But I also find that's where disappointment comes in as well, because where you're forcing it so intensely to go in a direction, but we're not always clear on what that direction is because we're not honest with ourselves. And because of that, we are more likely to be disappointed. We're more likely to feel the stress and the worry and the fear. And I'll be honest as well, talking about this, the cousin, sister, whatever you want to call it, to perfectionism for me is procrastination. Because I get so worked up on the perfection or of how doing a certain activity or not doing a certain activity makes me look, how I am perceived by the world as a result of my failings as a human being, of not being perfect enough. I then bury my head in the sand and try to ignore it to the point that it spirals and my head goes, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should be doing all these things. But actually, when I've got on top of them, when I've just gone, right, I'm not letting this overwhelm me, I'm just going to do it to the best of my ability, or I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to focus on this. And then once that 5 minutes is up, I am done. Like, I can't correct it. When I allow myself the permission to be messy, the permission to make mistakes, I am far less likely to also procrastinate, because I'm giving myself the permission to fail, the permission to not be perfect, the permission to not be good. So perfectionism is a massive topic for me. It's something that I've struggled with a lot in my life. It's been, don't get me wrong, one of the best things I've also been gifted, because it has helped me excel in many ways. But I realise, once again, it looked like perfectionism. But actually, whenever I have been successful in my life, it wasn't because I was being a perfectionist. Actually, when I failed in life, it's because I've been being a perfectionist. When I've been successful in life, it's just because I've wanted to do something. I've felt the urge to do well. I've wanted to work hard towards something. I've wanted to see the outcome, or I've enjoyed feeling the outcome of doing well. That wasn't perfectionism. Perfectionism was the python restricting me. So yeah, how is perfectionism showing up in your life? How is it impacting you and slowing you down? And what things can you start to do to be kinder to yourself and release the restriction that perfectionism is creating in your life? Is it that you can do a 5-minute activity where you just let things be messy and you don't actually think about what you're producing, but just doing it. Because you might be surprised with yourself. I know I always am when I do these activities. But be kinder and don't allow your perfectionism to perfect being kind. What does it mean to you? What does showing up for yourself with love and compassion mean to you? And if you don't know that, if your friend was showing the same qualities, if someone you deeply love was being overly perfect and trying to be perfect in life or perfect a situation, what would you say to them? What would you think looking at them? And how might you give them the kindness, love, and compassion that they need in order to let go of that stress, worry, and fear? Because that's all it is really under the surface. Is there's a fear that, at least for me, if I don't get it right, then will I regret getting it wrong? But I usually never regret that. Until next time.